it's like, wow, I can really do more. I can do more. I can do more. You'll have an unfair leverage, the kind small business operators have never had before. Everyone keeps telling small business owners that AI is coming for their job. They've got it totally backwards. AI is coming for the parts of your business that you cannot stand doing. The late night bookkeeping, the blank page content paralysis, the 12 questions you answer every single week over and over again from new leads. In the next 25 minutes, Zach and I are going to walk you through the 6 outcomes LLMs unlock for one-person businesses, plus the exact workflows we built to get them. No theory, no fluff, just what we're doing in our businesses. Okay, so LLM for the solo operator or the small business owner. How one person can outpace a 10-person team without hiring, without burning out, without selling your data. We created this presentation because it's well known in the universe now that everybody should be using AI, but I don't think it's well known on why you should be using it, in what context, and how it's actually going to solve business outcomes for you. And the unique selling point for that is just go play with it. And I don't think that's good enough, because if you're a busy small business owner, then you don't have a lot of time to be playing around with things that you're not sure what the outcome is going to be, other than, oh yeah, it's great. So today we're going to give you step-by-step actual workflows or solutions that you can apply your AI to immediately. You don't need more hours. You need a team that fits on a thumb drive. That's not a metaphor. The skills and workflows we'll cover today live as files on your laptop. They run when you sleep. They never quit, and they cost less than your phone bill. So we're going to go on this left and right, the before and after. And it's really not a cliche. We're using actual examples from either members in our community or from ourselves that we've experienced using AI and LLMs. So a day in the life before versus after, right? So you wake up in the morning and they have the same 5 questions from leads that you've had for the last months or years. And then 11:20 rolls around, you're still doing the books, or you're still working through some articles that you're writing. Sunday, you're drafting next week's content from scratch. You're having to think through it for several hours. You're having to devise it. You're having to use different apps, whether it's Adobe or Canva, whatever it is, right? And then vacation. I love this. What vacation? 6:47 a.m. in the after, leads are already replied to. The deals are booked overnight. 9 a.m., intelligence briefing in your inbox when you're sipping your coffee. Sunday, one podcast that you spend 1 hour on becomes 20 pieces of content. And then the vacation, the business is running without you, and you just check in every once in a while. Now, this might seem like a huge claim, but the leads already replied to and the deals booked overnight is a very real use case as of today. And I've used this in my gym coaching business. Leads will come in overnight and I don't touch them, and it's purely AI automated. And they're also filtering, which the filtering thing is really a big part of it as well, because I'm sure people that have used chatbots before, you'll get all these leads and about 60% of them will be spam. And then you have to work through them yourself and then make sure that they don't keep coming in as spam as well. You got a block list, do all of that. So you can customize that with your own customized LLM and then make sure that that is being trained on. And maybe it happens a couple times, but then you say, all right, look out for these keywords or look out for these phrases. And then it's going to learn that and then apply it. And then overnight or during the day, obviously, you're going to get your leads in. And then you're also going to get that immediate reply. We know that getting back to your lead as fast as possible while they're warm is going to be the best sales opportunity you can have. And so having somebody reply to them is going to be very important. And one of the things that's working really well right now is text message LLM structure. Voice is great and voice can work well, but you're probably not going to sell somebody on voice with AI yet. However, the voice part can filter them in, can bring them in, can transfer calls and do all of that stuff. It's actually a huge project I'm working on right now. I mentioned the text messaging aspect because that is really interesting, because Alex Hormozy on his latest school, every month they have all the schoolers come in that have done the best and they do a presentation. I don't know if you caught this, Zach, but they have a sales agent that is selling just as good as some of their best salesmen in text message that's working right now that they're testing out, but it's actually working and making sales.
That's crazy. I had not seen that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So
like the game of speed to lead. It's one of the easiest wins
that's
with
it.
automation.
That's it. And I remember one of like the worst jobs I ever had was like sitting at a gym and I had to call people that didn't want to hear from me. And I had to do like 50 calls in the first hour. And so all of those calls are great, and then you hopefully get a touch point, but you're reaching people maybe at a bad time, or you're reaching people that don't know who you are. And so if you can have the incoming and the outgoing have some sort of a soft um, lead capture there, then you can start reminding them via text. And one thing Alex Hormozy touched on too was it was really interesting that they could see in the data that, let's say there's like a 1, 2, and 3 day follow up, and then you just don't say anything about until the 7th day follow up, and then you do like a 14-day follow up maybe, or a 30-day follow up. And on those follow ups, they noticed the increase in sales every single time the AI was reaching out. So these are things that you can customly build in your business today. Anything else on that, Zach, that I touched on?
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on quickly the vacation because I think that this might be something where you see it and you think to yourself, yeah, that's the part that's like a load of BS. I don't believe that, Zach. And I just want to, if you don't know, I've been living in Spain for the past 4 months. I've been traveling and seeing a lot of Europe. I think I've been here for now, like when all is said and done, I leave here very soon. 16 weekends, and I think I've traveled 12 of those weekends. And so like I have a 4-day work week and then a 3-day vacation literally every weekend. And the only reason I've been able to do that and I've been able to grow and go from almost 0 followers on all platforms to now having over 5,500 on platforms, which isn't crazy growth, but like from 0, like I'm proud of it. And be able to do these other things in the community, which is a business now in and of itself, and do some AI implementation and coaching for a couple of clients. The only reason I've been able to do that is because of these systems that we're showing you. Like everything that Zach has on the after side, I use and implement. And that is how I've been able to like go on a vacation almost every weekend and live this like really, really fun lifestyle while still growing a business. It's true. It's very true. So I just want to testify to that that's not a load of BS. I've been living that for the last 16 weeks.
Yeah, that's so true. And the fact that you didn't have to tell anybody that you were even doing that. Nobody in our school group even knows that you're doing that unless you were having a
No,
separate conversation. So it wasn't like, hey guys, I'm going to be out of town for 16 weeks. Like there was none of
no,
that.
no, we've been like we add new material to the community every single week. We push out this episode every single week. I make content every single day, one if not two, while traveling Europe. So it works. Agencies charge $25,000 to install AI operating systems into businesses. Here's how to do it for yourself for less than dinner and a movie. This is how easy it is. Day 1, you download the file, point Claude at it, and type start. By day 7, you have a finished AI operating system saving you at least 10 hours every single week. Not a course. This is your actual business automated. 48 hours later, and you have 5 AI agents running on autopilot. Your inbox is handled automatically, replies sorted, backlog cleared without you touching it. You have a content engine that's trained on thousands of winning posts in your niche, creating content in your voice, and a live website if you don't have one already. Whether you are brand new or have been running a business for years, our ready to install system audits where you are, walks you through 15 questions about your business, and builds your entire AI system from your answers. One of our members on day 1 discovered that our AI operating system is going to save him $13,200 per month. By being in the Zero to Automated community, every single week you get new Claude skills, ready to install workflows that you can go and drop into your AI operating system, weekly live builds with both Zach, Lloyd, and myself, a Claude Code 101 course for complete beginners. If you are not saving 10 hours per week after the install of your AI operating system, we will work with you one-on-one until you are. Join Zero to Automated below. What agencies charge $25,000 for, you can have running in 48 hours.
All right. So LLMs deliver immediate ROI by automating the work, slashing the costs, and unlocking the growth you can't reach. So as far as where these numbers came from, I did a research search with Claude on this. So you can take the numbers, however you want to take them in that way. But the idea is the way that the numbers are trending, in my opinion. It's not that we're getting complete accurate data, but think of it in the way that where is it trending? So 80% of customers' inquiries handled without you touching them. That's realistic. That's what I've seen. That's what we're doing. Okay. So maybe it's not 100, but what if 8 out of 10 leads you didn't have to touch until they were warm and hot and ready to sell? And then 5 times the content output from the same source material, like we're talking about with one podcast, repurposing it and turning it into 20 plus pieces of different content. So you spend 1 hour creating content and then you can use that for the rest of the week, or maybe even less, depending on how your workflows are in your content creation. And then the average cost per day for a local LLM workflow, it's extremely cheap. Okay. It's not 10 cents, it's not $1, it's somewhere in between. Worst case scenario, too, if you really want to think about it, I use Claude Max, and I still use the $100. I had to think about that. I'm pretty sure I'm using the $100 one because of the way that they structure it. With the way that I work, if I ever hit a limit, like it's only a limit for that day or a certain amount of hours, and I can always come back. But that's still extremely rare. And I'm
They also
building
just double usage, so that's now extremely, extremely rare.
Yeah, and I'm building a code base to give people an idea. I'm building a code base separately for a very specific project, and then I'm also doing all of my business related things for my coaching and consulting in AI business, and then my coaching business in health and fitness. And then it's also doing all of the workflows related to this podcast and our school group. And then all of the random personal things and just like research ideas that I come up with. It's doing all that. And I almost never hit a limit. So you can think of this as being kind of like the cap, most likely for a small business owner, unless you're coding every single day and you have several projects you're coding on. The max you would ever need would be a Claude Max. So let's say that's $100 divided by 31 days, $3.22 max. Okay. So you can go the 10-cent route or the 322. You think of any other subscription you have in life, there's no other place you can get this much leverage. So again, it's about the trend. It's about the cost. It's closer to zero than it is to, oh, how am I going to afford this? That's not a thing. Okay. So we're going to go over a couple outcomes that I think will be helpful to help reframe. Okay, this sounds great, guys. I'm really interested, but what are some things I could actually do sooner than later? So always on sales, customer service that never clocks out. So you answer the same 12 questions like we were talking about, and then all of a sudden it's like a new day. You're answering very similar questions. And maybe you create a FAQ, but nobody ever really reads the FAQ. So the idea behind this is the assistant, then it handles 80% of those inquiries. And then in your voice, it's going to book the appointments. It's going to escalate all the edge cases. So it's like, oh, this person XYZ, they need to get a hold of you ASAP. I'm working on a HIPAA compliant voice agent. So that's one of the things where no matter what we do, there's going to be some use cases where we need to elevate it and be like, oh no, this person is calling us about insurance, but really it's a 911 call. So how do we escalate that? So there's always going to be edge cases, but as you work through those edge cases, you actually train the LLMs better, and the agent becomes smarter over time. And then you're also replying in seconds and not hours or even days. Let's be real. If you look at Google business pages, you'll see a lot of comments in a lot of small businesses that they just do not answer the phones very often or enough, or they never got back to somebody. And I'm sure everybody can equate that. I didn't get back to that one guy I really should have. That type of thing. It just doesn't happen anymore. So then the deals potentially start closing while you sleep in a best situation scenario. In our school group, we have a custom support skill that's training on your FAQ, your pricing logic, your escalation rules, all of that. And then it's deployed onto your site with SMS or email. These are the types of automations and workflows and skills that are available in our community. And we essentially make them where you download them and then Claude will help you customize them to your business or your use case, whatever that would be. So everything that we talk about today is something that is involved in the community or is being built in the community, or it's something you can learn in the community. All right, let's go to the next one. Marketing content that compounds. This is a big one for both Zach and I, because long story short, there's just not enough time in the day to make content sometimes. So you really have to figure out how you can leverage content. So you need to make posts. You're staring at a blank screen. You don't have that feeling of creativity, like, oh, what am I going to write about today, or what am I going to make a video on? And like then nothing happens or nothing goes out, and then you're delayed a couple of days. You're not scheduling your content. Your competitors who post constantly are eating your lunch, not because they're better, but just because they're more visible. They're more consistent with getting it out there. So what can change? One piece of long form, like we said earlier, is 20 assets: short form scripts, hooks, captions, call to actions, carousels. We have an awesome Instagram carousel skill that you just plug and play into Claude that Zach made. Emails, all of that. And then it's under one umbrella. And then the LLM is grabbing all of that over time and becoming better. It's learning from what you're creating, and then it's going to give you a better output, but it's also going to get you ahead of the game and start scheduling this stuff. So a couple of things we've built on that. Like I said, the Instagram carousel. We have a YouTube repurposer. We have a short form hook, script, call to action, caption writer. We have an email optimizer. The whole thing, it just ships in time, ships in the time it used to take to outline one post.
Yeah. There's something else I want to add as well that is going to be coming to the community soon. I'm starting to dive into a lot that I'm going to add to this is in terms of like short form creation and like short form AI, like visuals and like short clips. Is I'm toying around with the Higgsfield MCP, which if you don't know what Higgsfield is, that's totally fine. But it is one of the most powerful AI video and image gen platforms that has access to every single AI image gen and video gen on the market. And they just released an MCP. So you can do all this out of Claude. As the weeks go on, I'll be releasing more content on that. So go ahead and add that. That's something else that we're going to be testing out and adding into the community for you guys to use. So that way it's not just still content, but you're leveraging one of the most insane opportunities right now, which is short form content. And you're able to keep the volume up because like Zach's mentioned, content is ultimately a volume game and a data game. And if you need to be posting in order to know what works. So this is the unlock for that.
All right. Number 3, admin chaos turned into instant order. This is one of my favorites because I'm not a super clerically organized person. So 40% of your week is paperwork. You didn't start the business to do this. It's like inbox triage, inbox from Facebook, Meta, Instagram. You have Gmail, you have Outlook, whatever it is, just like coming in. Your meeting notes, your contract reviews, invoice chasing. Where did I put that invoice? I don't know where it went. By the time it's all done, the revenue generating work hasn't even started. So you can cut that in half. And I would say we're being really reasonable with that number and cutting it in half because I would say it's closer to 90% for me. So we can triage your inbox. And again, it is something that gets better over time, which I think is also lost in the public sphere of, well, AI can do this, but like, okay, cool. But my favorite thing is like it learns and gets better over time, which is really, really cool because like based on your meeting summaries, right? Then if that applies to your business, you can teach the LLM to learn those things and leverage those things. So when the next meeting comes in, it already has more context on what meetings look like and can help you make better decisions faster and then triage all that information with action items. Your documents are searchable. And then, 5 hours plus back every week just off of that, most likely, depending on what category of business you're in. But these are serious usable hours. And then unless you love admin work, which I know most people don't, you're going to get a whole lot more headspace back to be doing things that actually are leveraging for your business. And so what we've built for this, we have an email optimizer, we have an ADHD planner, daily, weekly, session handoff, and resume, which is, I think, really coincides with everything we're talking about today, but essentially handing off a session and then resuming it with the same information you had before so you can keep building on something that's really important to you. And then these are just the workflows we use every day to keep our own businesses running and clean. All right, number 4, insights before your competition wakes up. So you're reacting to the market, not leading it. The research that should take 20 minutes takes a week. So you skip it and then you just start guessing or you just start writing random things. So pricing is a feeling. The pivot you needed 3 months ago hasn't happened because the competitor is moving and you are blind to it. So, what does this look like on the other side? A morning intelligence briefing on your industry. Both Zach and I do this every day. We get these briefings in our email. And it's one of those things where some days I read it, some days I don't. But the day that I need it, it's there and it's ready to go. And the really cool thing is, with AI or just with the world in general being so interconnected with social media, I mean, you can go to bed at 8, 9, 10 o'clock and then wake up at 5, 6, or 7. And then a whole lot of things have happened in the world in that time you were sleeping. And so just getting short snippets about what's important in your category of business going on in the world overnight can be a huge leverage for conversations that day that you're having with meetings, can make you it's kind of like back in the day, salesmen used to always read the sports, because if you knew what was going on in sports, you could talk about it when you're having a sales meeting, and that would build instant rapport with the client or the prospect. It's very similar to that. It's going to create that higher prestige level for you in whatever your business is. And so you're getting all the trends. What are the quote unquote threats happening in your industry? All of that, the pricing, positioning, it's coming at you. And so what we've built in the community for that is a 48-hour intelligence briefing. So the last 2 days, going through all of the social media information out there and saying, okay, what's actually signal for your business or your category, whatever that is. Daily briefing workflows. So you're waking up with just a smarter mind, and then knowing what your competition is doing while you're sleeping. And then you're not just doom scrolling all day and getting pulled in by algorithms and wasting more of your time.
Yeah, and I mean, taking this a step further too, this is also just fuel for the content system as well. So that way you can become an authority in your space that knows things before anybody else does. And then you can chain all of this with the other skills we covered on the previous slide to push out and create content.
All right. 5, cost slashed, data secured. So you're paying $3,000 a month for output you could have described in a 10-minute Loom video. This one is super high leverage, and people that have been using Upwork or anything like Fiverr before, and you have somebody, you're essentially using this pricing arbitrage where you can get a coder in Pakistan to build your website for you for $1,000 instead of $5,000 or $10,000 here in the US, stuff like that. But the crazy part here is the learning that takes place. So normally in those situations, you might do a video, say, hey, so-and-so, this is what I want for it. And then you go through it and you explain it. But then you have to keep going back and forth with that person. And so ultimately, once you do that a couple times, the AI will learn from all of that. And you can just do a 10-minute Loom or any 10-minute video if you're not familiar with Loom. It's just a video service. So you do a 10-minute, go through it, right? And then you can kind of not even have to hire the VA because the AI becomes the VA, or you hand over all of the videos that are the standard operating procedures for your business that you created to the LLM. It organizes it and creates it structured for you. And then you hand it off to your VA. So your VA can be 10 times more powerful, right? So either way, your margin bleeds and your data leaves the building if you're not doing this, because all of that time going back and forth with the VA, all of that is just going to wane on that. So the outcome is the local LLMs run on your laptop for pennies a day, sensitive customer data, contracts, IP, it never leaves your machine. Okay. So this is something you can build with Claude, but it's also something you don't need Claude for. You can use free models for this as well. Meta's Llama is a really good one. Their large model I use. It just depends on what the use case is. But again, you're saving thousands a year while sleeping better about who's seeing your data or not seeing it at all, right? So that security piece is interesting depending on what business you're in. I would say not everybody is super concerned about the data going back and forth to their website. That's usually an okay thing. But we bring this up because it's not just a security thing, it's a cost thing too, where it can really save you time and money as well. So the sovereign setup, if you will, you can use something like Claude or ChatGPT to create that on your local computer. And I think a lot of people have a hard time seeing that because, like, well, it's online. Well, that's the cool thing. It can be online and then build on your local computer. and then not send anything else out after that. All right, number 6, the last one. Custom tools that scale you, not the headcount. So you have a big players win on personalization, language coverage, and weird niche workflows you can't justify hiring for. You can't outspend them. You can't outstaff them. So you watch them outposition you. That is no longer the case. Custom skills give you the edge they can't replicate. Recommendations tuned to your customers, multilingual support, niche workflows nobody else will build. Growth without the org chart. So think of this as probably the highest leverage. We saved it for last, number 6, because the way I think about skills, for instance, is let's say you're training an employee, day one employee, and you show them, okay, let's say it's a day one employee that does front desk. So the front desk employee, you have to train them on how they talk to a customer. You have to train them on the computer. You have to say, okay, we use Microsoft Word, we use Excel. You also have to log in here. Here's the login passwords to get there. And then you need to organize this data when a lead comes in. All of these things you have to do over and over again every time you hire. And then you also have to remind people. And then human A and human B, they talk and they're like, we're going to change something. But then you never were in the loop on that. And then you come in and you want to do something, but you didn't know they changed it. And you're like, well, what the heck? What do I do now? All of these things happen all the time. But with skills, what you're doing is you're creating a standard operating procedure for those tasks, and then they can be replicated as many times as possible. So you train it once, and then you get the outcome every single time. And then if anything changes, you just let it know, and then you change it. And so when you have employee A and employee B change things, they change it on the same level, and then everybody in the workplace is aware of it. And vice versa, if you change something, they will be aware of it because it's written in there. And it's one of those things that you can replicate as many times as you want. And you can go to the smallest little scale of just writing an email in a very specific way, or you can go to a large scale and say, we have leads coming in on our website. I want those leads to go to Google Drive, and then I want Google Drive to throw that in Google Sheets. And then I want Google Sheets to be organized in the specific way on Monday, but then a different way on Friday. And then I want a report sent through my email. All of these things linked up. That's a little more complicated, obviously, than just sending an email in a very specific way, but it all works the same.
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, something to add to this is it really becomes the unlock of you don't need to train your employees anymore. You teach them how to facilitate the skills, or you hire someone that's already AI native, and then you just update a skill once, or they just update a skill once, and it's going to run like that forever. You don't have the errors of someone forgetting to do a step. It's so easy. It's so seamless.
100%.
And especially even when it comes to like leadership and stuff, it makes leadership easier for implementing changes because it just like almost removes human error.
Exactly. Yeah. Removing human error is a good way to think about it as well, which can obviously take on a lot of time and expense as well.
For sure.
All right. And then all of that is obviously available in the group, but we really walk you through that in our course as well, and give you a lot of actionable tips on how to create them, what are good ones to start with, all of that. All right. So what's the most solo operators get wrong? They use ChatGPT like Google with the one-off questions, one-off answers. You're not really getting deep. They never package the prompt. They get a prompt as an employee, but they don't save it, and then it can't be reusable like the skill we just talked about. Or they try to AIify everything all at once, pick one painful weekly task, automate it, ship it, then the next. Boil the ocean and you'll quit. Yep. You don't measure what came back. So if you have no automated way to measure the output or to verify the output, then you get stuck in this loop of creating things that don't fully work, and then they break. And then when they break, you don't know where to go after. So if you can't tell whether the output is better than what you've written, you can't trust it or improve it. So these are some of the typical things we see a lot with members in our group, or just any of our consulting clients that we talk to on a day-to-day basis. Skills and workflows, a team you can own. So a skill is a packaged expert you can summon on demand. SOP, standard operating procedure. Prompt, examples, saved once, used forever, like a hiring specialist who never sleeps, never quits, and works for pennies. One note on that. I just did one of these today, actually. I'm working with an application called Retail for voice agents. and they can make changes as much as they want or as infrequently as they want. And they also have documents, lots of documents on how it works. And when I'm working, sometimes something doesn't make sense. And so I can say, okay, hey, go check those retail docs. Do we have anything there? Or I can create a skill based off of how I'm working with retail. And then we have specific prompts and examples of exactly what I want the output to be and the data that I need. And then I also have a hook inside that says, every time I run this skill, make sure that retail hasn't changed or updated any of the features or anything in the documentation that could potentially change what we're doing. So that would actually take me, every time I work on the project, that would actually take me 10 minutes or more potentially. And that could be several times a week and add up to at least an hour a week on a full production process. So again, that's something I created in about less than 10 minutes, and that it's going to be super helpful moving forward. So that's an example of a skill actually working and one I created today. A workflow, a chain of skills that produces a complete business outcome. The output of one becomes the input of the next. This is how one operator runs an agency-sized output. And this is what Zach and I really specialize in, is we do all the skills and we can build all the things, but it's like, how do you connect all of this? That's where we really specialize, is helping people get the bird's eye view of the business and then say, okay, how can we connect these skills or these employees or these business processes and create a full workflow for it, so we don't just save a little time here, a little time there. It becomes one organic working piece that you can control and see from a bird's eye lens, but also zoom all the way in and say, oh, like I was saying with that Excel sheet, it's like, oh, we want Excel sheet to do something different on Monday than Friday. And we can tweak those little things, right? And so our skills directory is vast. Here's just a couple of them we already talked about. ZTA Watch is one of the newer ones. It's having the AI actually watch the video. So it's taking frame screenshots in a really smart way to save tokens, which the more tokens you use, the more cost you're going to be incurring and the time to read it. But you will actually have AI watching videos, and then you can use that information. For instance, if you build something, you need to check it, then you would want to walk it through that workflow. Instead of you having to walk through the workflow, it'll go watch the workflow and do it for you. Stuff like that. Very, very helpful. And again, it can just plug into anything that you're doing in your business, no matter what it is. Anything else on that, Zach?
I think something, so you briefly touched on retail, which is, it doesn't matter the name of the tool, whatever, but you touched on how you're building that and how powerful it is that you have all this context because you're working out with it out of one place. Do you want to walk through it quickly? Because I think like a missing piece that maybe if you watch this part in the video, maybe you understand it, but something people still might be missing is just the massive unlock that comes with the power of like an API or an MCP, briefly explaining what those are, but then also how like the whole point, the whole thing where AI and all these companies are converging to is you no longer move around from all these tools. Like you call retail, but you work out of one tool, the AI tool, and it is connected to everything and has all the context on your business, but it also can go and make the changes to all of the existing tools you use. So do you want to kind of talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit?
Yeah.
In turn, and then how that relates to like you can build a skill that knows how to use a certain tool and then chain that together with a workflow. So it's not just like this AI output that you have to go copy and paste. The skills can actually be wired to all these connecting tools as well, which is a like mind-blowing unlock, I think, if you don't already understand that.
Yeah, the way I visualize it, and tell me if you visualize it differently or if you have it more helpful. But when I think of like APIs and MCPs, especially for people that aren't super tech oriented, I
Yeah.
I think of picturing like your house. So you have your house, and then you have your house, and you have like maybe a rug. You have different colors. You have different utensils in your kitchen than somebody else. Maybe you have a blender. Maybe you don't. Your bed is this. Your bed is that. Your rooms are this. Your bathroom is this. All of these different little intricacies where somebody else's home probably has a shower, a bath, and a toilet and a kitchen, but the colors are different. The utensils are different. The rugs are different. All of these changes, your clothes are obviously different. All of these little intricate things that make your house way different than somebody else's house. And then you have the mansions which are these big companies that we use regularly. So Meta, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, any of these things. And so what happens is, let's say Meta, the mansion of Meta, you have all these things going on that you use all day long. And all of a sudden you need Meta's kitchen to talk to your kitchen. And so what happens with an API and MCP is my kitchen says, hey, yo, in a message. And just like it sends a little text message to the Facebook mansion. And then the Facebook mansion takes that message and then sends back what you need to know about its kitchen. And so then all of a sudden you have all these little conversations going on, and you can connect these two houses together, no matter the shape, size, what's in them, what's not in them. It's this agreement that's taking place in just like a small little text message, which is basically just little code and a little code here, and they meet together and then they transmit that data that you need and can be useful.
I think it's a great explanation. Another one I've heard that I like, this is when it finally clicked for me, was with the unlock, is imagine you had, let's say, 30 people in a room. These are the 30 applications that you use to run your business. They're 30 people. They all speak a different language. How the hell would they get anything done? The MCP is someone walks in the room and they speak any language in the world, and they allow everyone to communicate with everyone, and it's seamless. And that is the MCP, aka like hooking things up to your AI via an MCP or an API. They're interchangeable. But that's like a concept that I also like to think about it in. But hopefully hearing both those explanations, you can understand just like one step further how a skill and a workflow can really become powerful. You're not just like, sure, it's great for writing scripts, but imagine that you can have it go and pull all your numbers from Excel and then pull all those numbers and put everything that needs to be put into QuickBooks and do all your taxes for you. Like that's no longer this crazy vision. That's possible with MCPs and APIs. So, and skills and workflows. Yeah, that's just
a great way to say
it.
No, that's helpful. I like that. It's kind of like QuickBooks speaks Chinese and then Excel speaks English, and then you're trying to connect them. You're like, this doesn't work, guys. Yeah, that's not a problem anymore. All right, and then the content engine. We touched on this, but it just helps to reiterate visually. One episode, YouTube repurpose, short form, captions, writers, carousel, email optimizer. One button, boop, 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 goes all the way out. And then you can customize these over time. You can change them. You can decide the scheduling, when they post, when they don't, all of that. And you're just going to save so much time. And then what's really cool about this is the volume game, like we're talking about, is you can get more volume out, which more volume doesn't necessarily mean better content. But what's cool is the more volume you get out, the more data you get back. And then the more data you get back on, what's working for your business, then you can actually use that data to make better content. And therefore, you should have a flywheel of content that continually gets better over time. And if you don't, you're doing something wrong. The morning intelligence loop. Replace 3 newsletters and 2 hours of doom scrolling. And if you've ever used a phone to track how much you actually spend on social media, 2 hours is probably pretty accurate, if not worse. The numbers are astounding. So like we talked about, the scanning your industry, surfacing what's changed in the last 24 hours, all of that context. And then you have it all in one bite-sized. And it's cool because you could create a little video for yourself. You can read it in an email. You can get it in a text, get it on WhatsApp, whatever it is, however you best digest information. That's the way you package it. And then boom, you have this intelligence report to show up better in the world and be a more intelligent business operator that way immediately that day. The ad pipeline. This one's really cool too. So the research, the creative, the ship, and the measure, just like I was talking about with the content, right? Your ads get better over time. This pipeline gets built once, and then you just keep reiterating the content inside of it using data to make it better. The 4 objections we hear every time. It hallucinates. I'm not technical. It'll replace me. What about my data? All of these things, right? I'm going to really focus on the I'm not technical because that's one I think that comes up a lot. And if you can write down how you currently do something, you can build a skill. And I just made some cookies with my son. He's 3.5 years old this last week. And it's one of those things where, okay, we get the flour, we get the sugar, we mix it, put it in the oven for a certain amount of time, Boom. That's what we're talking about. The steps, if you can break down those steps, which obviously you can because you're doing something in your work life right now, you can break those down. That can become a skill, that can become a standard operating procedure. And then you can plug it in, especially with the help of our community. Very simple step by step instructions, how to get it working. Once you do it a couple times, you're set. You can learn new things.
I think that the big one still with a lot of people is it hallucinates. And the people that say that are the people that still use ChatGPT religiously. And I'm not here to blasphemize ChatGPT at all, but it's like they haven't built out this sort of like operating system yet. And I think that's really exciting because if you're saying that, then there's a massive opportunity because you build everything right, like we've talked about. You will not be saying that and you will amaze yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And then the whole it'll replace me, like totally wrong way to be thinking about this at all. Not only can it replace the stuff you don't like, but it can enhance your ability. So it's like if you have domain expertise, then you can enhance with AI because you know the things you need to know, where AI will never know those things because all AI is doing is just grabbing stuff from the internet and then bringing it together for you. And so, what you need to know is that domain expertise that only a human can really know, the taste, the ability to know what to say to certain people and not to what other people say, all of that. So it's not the right frame. And even if it was going to replace us, you might want to get to know it before it replaces you, right? Like there's just no other solution other than getting your hands dirty here. Where to start this Monday? Pick one weekly task that drains you, not your worst task, your most repeated one. Repetition is where the leverage is really hiding, usually, especially for a big win early. And then the document, how you can currently do it. You open up a doc, or you might already have one, you might already have an SOP, but be boringly specific. And that document is half of your skill because it just needs to know what to do step by step. And then build one skill this week, use a skill creator in our group, or run the skill Grill Me, which will pressure test your idea about making it something that can actually solve a problem in your business. And then you run it, you refine it, and then share it with the world. Well, the community wants to see it. And that's another cool thing about being a part of the community is you have other people building and doing cool things and sharing what they're doing. And you're able to see, oh, that's a great idea. I didn't think about doing it that way. And then you can apply it to your business. So if you're solo and doing it by yourself, stop. Just join a community. It's free to get in, meet people, ask more questions, and you're going to just be a totally different person in the next 90 days. So we'll finalize with saying stop hiring, start building, and then you can hire more. I should have added that to the slide. Stop hiring, start building, so you can hire more. That's really
I like that. Put in like parentheses underneath it.
Yeah. So if you build one skill this week, you'll wonder how you ran your business without them. Just like we said, we just keep coming out with more for ourselves because it's like, wow, I can really do more. I can do more. I can do more. And then if you build 5, you'll have a team. If you build 20, you'll have an unfair leverage. The kind small business operators have never had before.